Hey, welcome back to the vlog. Happy New Year. 2025 goals have changed slightly. As you can see, my top one, of course, is not to tilt. I wish I could say I'm off to a good start on that, but you will see in this episode that I have some more work to do. Anyway, sit back, relax, enjoy. Here we go. 1-3 at Capital Casino. Well, we sit down in a good game at Capital Casino. Haven't had much to play until we pick up a pair of 8s on the button. There was an open limp, player raises a 15, I call, big blind, and the limper call. We see a flop of 10, 5, 4 with 2 diamonds. Not a great flop for our particular hand, but it really fits our range better than, I would say, the opening raiser. So when it gets checked to him, he bets out for $25. I think my range is stronger than his, so I decided to raise to 75. The other 2 players fold out, and he makes a quick call. Makes me feel like he's on some sort of draw. He does like to open with suited aces, so he might have a flush draw. And then the ace of hearts comes on the turn. Not a good card. If he had the ace high flush draw, he now made a pair. He leads for $100. Not much I can do. Just have to let it go. And he did flash that he had ace 6 of diamonds. Well, here I have pocket 3s. It's been 40 minutes, and this is only the second playable hand I've had. I just decide to limp in after other limpers. Hopefully get a cheap flop. And sure, it's going to be a cheap flop, but there's only $15 in the pot. Flop comes out 9-4-3. So we flop bottom set. There are 2 spades on board. It's checked to me. I'm going to bet $15. Hopefully I can get some action from someone with a 9. Don't really want action from someone with a spade draw. I get 1 caller, 2 caller, 3 callers. So we're going 4 ways to a turn card, and it comes out a deuce of spades. Not only does it complete a straight, but of course it completes the most obvious draw, a flush draw. It's checked to me, I check it, and now the player on the button, who has the option to check back anything and take a free card, decides to make a pot-sized bet. Naturally, this screams as though he has a flush. This is always a flush. He gets a quick call from the player in first position. Most likely he has some sort of high spade in his hand, like an ace of spades or king of spades, and he's drawn to a flush. Of course, I can't let a set go at this point. I put in the call, and we see a blank on the river of a 10 of diamonds. Goes check, check, and then the player on the button decides to bet $100. He's just going for value. I'm not going to pay him off. It's just like, he always has it here. Never going to be paying this guy off here. Anyway, after some thought, you guessed it, I end up paying him off. I am such a freaking idiot. He has to have a flush in this spot. Just a waste of $100. Of course, I'm a little bit tilting right now. I know I shouldn't be tilting so early in the year, but I am because I wasted $100 on that last hand. And there was a $7 straddle. I opened for $25 with ace 7 suited. Not a good hand to open with in early position, and a game as active as this one. Flop comes ace jack 3 with 2 spades. I got top pair. I'm going to go ahead and lead. Most likely the best play here was not to play the ace 7 to begin with, and be careful when the flop comes ace high. I get a couple callers. Now is the decision time when the 5 of diamonds comes on the turn. I, in my ultimate wisdom, decide I might be able to get someone to fold ace 10, ace 8, ace 9. So I jam all in for 200 and change. The player at the end of the table, who I just gave an extra $100 to, he puts in the call with ace king. I'm not going to get ace king to fold. Well, that first 500 went fairly quick. I just reloaded for another 500, looked down at pocket 10s from under the gun, opened for a raise to 15. I get 1 caller, then the player at the end of the table raises to what I thought was 55, but he actually raised to 65. So I put out $55, and then the dealer told me, hey, you owe $10 more. Swell. Well, I'm going to go set mining with my pocket tens, and of course the flop comes king, queen, 7. Can't think of a single hand I am ahead of at this point with his raising range. So I'm just waiting for him to put some chips in the pot, and then I can just muck my hand and move on. Well, over the next 30, 40 minutes, I managed to win some small pots and kind of chip away at my deficit. I'm only down $430 at this point. There was one limper. I raised a 15 with king 10 suited. I get a call from the player at the middle of the table, one from the player at the end. All said and done, we have a 5-way action headed to this flop with $78 in the center. I'm thinking of a perfect flop, and that's just about what we get when it comes 8, 4, deuce, all spades. So we got the second nut flush, which is good, and it's check to me. I'm going to put out a continuation bet of $20. So after I put out my $20, I do get 2 callers. So we're going to go 3 ways to this turn card of a 3 of clubs. The short stack with $68 remaining goes all in. My guess, he probably has a hand like 5-6, where he had a double gutter and he just made a straight. Of course, if he had a flush, he should have just shoved all in on the flop. So, pretty sure he just made a straight. I think the best play here is just to put in the call, and maybe the player behind me will have something that they want to play with. So, I make a smooth call for the $68. Of course, if he has like a lone ace of spades, I'm giving him a cheap draw to come beat me. But if he has something else, he might try to overplay it and get himself into trouble. After some thought, he decides to make it 268, which is music to my ears. Of course, he could possibly have the nut flush, but more than likely he has something like queen jack of spades or 7-8 of spades, hands like that. Now it's just a matter of, do I want to get the money in now? And of course the answer is yes. You want to put the money in, especially when you think you're ahead. So I jam all in. He raised $200. After my call, it's 268 more to him. I don't think he's ever going to be folding for $268, especially when it's going to be, almost a $1,300 pot. Well, I'm just hoping he doesn't turn over the nut flush, but he took a little time thinking about it. I figured he would snap call if he had the nuts. I show him the king high flush. He had the queen high flush, so it was kind of a cooler, but we get even in one hand for the rough start of the day. Well, my day started horrible, but then I got that last hand, and now I have aces on the button. An aggressive player opens for $20. I meant to raise it to 60. I didn't grab enough chips, and I made it 55, which brought in the small blind, which was quite surprising. And the player in the cutoff also makes the call. Now, he's a fairly deep stack. He has me covered, and I got about $1,250 in my stack. Flop comes out ace 9-8 with 2 hearts. It's when you raise with aces, it's always nice to flop top set. Both players end up checking. I c-bet for $50. I don't think I need to go really big here. Most likely the type of hands I'm up against are not going to like seeing that ace on board. Both players end up putting in the call. So I was kind of a little surprised about that. Turn card is a really bad card. It's the 3 of hearts. It does make a flush. It will also kill the action if my opponent has something else. But my main thing is I don't want to give a free card to someone who has, say, pocket queens with a queen of hearts or ace queen with a queen of hearts. So when it's checked to me, I make a bet of $200. I was trying to decide what I was going to do if the player jammed on me, and I think I would just wet myself and then call. But after some long, hard thought, he decides just to put in the call for the $200. So the range of hands I'm putting him on is like a ace queen with a queen of hearts, some sort of heart draw. River card comes as a nine of clubs. Really don't have to worry about those hearts anymore. Question is, what am I going to get value from? Well, if he had pocket kings or pocket queens with a queen of hearts or the king of hearts, I don't think he's going to be calling anything. If he has an ace with a queen or a king of hearts, I think he'll call maybe a smaller size bet. If I thought he had a flush or better, I would just jam, of course. But my read on him was that he wasn't very strong, especially by the way he played his hand. I decided to be on the optimistic side and think that he had ace queen with a queen of hearts and bet $400. Well, he started talking about his hand, and once someone starts talking about their hand, you know they're not going to be raising, because they're not going to tell you about the value of their hand and then raise you, because then you have all that information. So I'm thinking, man, I should have bet bigger, because it sounds like he has flushes beat. I'm going, what kind of full house could he have? 9-8 of spades? That's the only one that makes sense, unless he had pocket eights. Anyway, he said that, well, he's just going to put it in, and I show my hand, and he showed that he had pocket eights. So I think he lost the minimum on this hand. Player opens for $12. I have pocket nines. I decided to call the 12. Player to my left also puts in the call. And now the player in the middle of the table, who I beat with the flush over flush, he's been having kind of a rough day, and I think he's a little bit steamed at this point. He raises to $55. I think that my hand would play well against his steaming range, you might say. So I put in the call. Flop comes out queen high with a 6 and a 4. I decided that if he bet in a certain manner that I was just going to jam on him. And if he bet in a different manner, I was just going to fold. Don't want to get into too many details here, but his bet was that I was jamming. So I jam all in. He snap calls. I turn over my hand and asked him if he had a queen. He didn't say anything. My pocket nines were good. So what kind of hand could he have had? I'm not sure, but it's a wider range than normal. I played for another hour or so, but nothing too exciting happened after that. But something very exciting happened the very next day on my very first hand. I sit down in the cutoff with ace, king. Player opens for 15. I get 2 callers for the 15, and I make it $75. Only the player in the initial raiser in the +1 position puts in the call. Now, my opponent is a talented young player who has some very aggressive moves that he likes to do. I'm kind of aware of his ideas about the game, and we're going to be going to a flop with $184 in the center, which comes out Jack 6 deuce rainbow. Not a great flop for my particular hand. And now my opponent decides that he is just going to lead for $185. Now, okay, I want you to pause for a second. I'm going to pause for a second. What could this bet actually mean? Now, really think about it. When he leads out for a pot-sized bet in this situation, what hands is he doing this with? Is he ever doing this with pocket jacks? No. Would he do it with smaller pocket pairs, like 10s, 9, or 8s? No. Is he doing this with ace-jack? I don't think he's calling with ace-jack. So what is he doing this with? I think he's doing it with a hand like mine, like ace-king. And I think he just thinks I'm an old nit. So I would fold ace-king to a big bet size like this. Well, I got a little bit of a surprise for him, because I may be old, and I do play a tighter range than most, but I am not going to let him push me around. So I jam all in, and now he's in the tank, because what range is he putting me on? That not only did I see his $185 bet, but I jam all in for $425. Am I ever doing this with Ace King? If I'm really that kind of an old nit like he thinks, like an old man coffee? Well, he's in the tank for quite some time. I'm going to fast forward this. But my goal was, if he had the hand like Ace King, I want him to risk his entire stack to try to win half the pot. But after some time, he does make the call. Well, we see a run out that comes a Queen of Hearts and a 4 of Clubs. I told him I had Ace King. He turns over Ace King also. I guarantee the next time he tries to make a move on me, he might have to think twice because, this old dog has some new tricks. And even my old tricks are still good. About a half hour later, I pick up a pair of 4s. I got one limper in front of me. I raised to $15. End up getting a couple of callers. So it's just going to be 3 of us headed off to a flop with some $49 in the center. Flop comes out pretty good. Well, as long as no one has a flush. Comes 10, 8, 4, all clubs. It gets checked around to me. I bet for 25. First player folds out rather quickly. Now the player to my right in the +1 position puts in a raise. And, if someone really had a flush, would they raise like he just did? I mean, he made it like, here's my raise. Boom. And he puts it in there. So I'm thinking that he's more likely to have maybe a hand like Ace 10 with the Ace of Clubs, Ace 8 with the Ace of Clubs. I don't think he has a made flush. I think he has like the nut flush draw with a pair. And of course, I'm going to make a call. And as long as there's nothing dangerous coming out, then we're going to see a river. Turn card comes is the Ace of Hearts. Well, now all his nut flush draws now made top pair at least. He jams all in for $187. Of course, I think I'm still good. There's no way I'm going to be folding. I don't think he'd be playing a made flush like this. It seems like he is just betting his top pair at this point. I make the call, and we see the beautiful, not so beautiful 9 of Clubs on the river. Of course, this makes me throw up, and he turns over Ace 5 with the Ace of Clubs. So he was raising on the bear club draw, and you should be rewarded for that if you're going to play that way. So the dealer's going to push him a pot. So for the week, we ended up winning $1,400. Not bad considering all the poor play on my part. I did tilt for like one hand, maybe 1.5 hands. And that ended up costing me basically $300. Bad call was another $100. So $100 here, $100 there. Pretty soon you start talking about some real money. Anyway, I definitely recommend you coming up with your own type of New Year's resolutions, how to improve your game. You probably know your weaknesses better than anyone else. You know that you either call too much, play too many hands, your bet sizing, whatever it might be. Find out what your weakness is and pledge to get better this year. I'm pledging to get better this year. Let's make 2025 the year of improvement. I'll improve, you improve, and we'll get better together. So until next time, thanks for watching. I do appreciate all your support. If you haven't liked and subscribed by now, please do so. It does help the channel grow. And until next time, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.